So this morning we've got Huey Malone in the gym. Huey's a professional boxer, 3-0 at the minute, had 3 fights last year, and now really this year we're just starting to get back into his training. So there's no fights on the card. As you'll see through some of the tape on his hand, he's carrying a little bit of a hand injury at the minute. So really we're just doing some out of camp work to start to get him ready for when he does get a fight date and we start to transition into camp. The main focus of the sessions really for the minute with Huey is predominantly just around maximal strength. We did quite a lot of testing and monitoring throughout the course of last year and even at the start of this year. And one of the things we really want to focus on with Huey being so early on in his career is just his maximal strength. When we start to get close to fights, we'll begin to change that into more power and rate of force development work. But right now with his strength underpinning a lot of those qualities, we just want to make sure that he has the required amount of strength. So we're going to kick the session off just with a couple of low-level mobility drills. We're going to start with the world's greatest stretch and the dead bug. Really, I just use them as a way to open up through the thoracic spine, open up through the hips a little bit, and almost just start to get Huey switched into the mindset of being in a strength and conditioning session, starting training. Those are 2 exercises that I use with absolutely everyone. One, because it makes it a bit easier for me if someone's in the gym and I'm finishing off with someone, they can just get stuck into their warm-up, but also they know what to expect and what to anticipate when they first walk into the gym. So we'll start with the world's greatest stretch and dead bug, like I say, just twice through, few reps of each, just to get him moving through his T-spine, through his hips. And then we're going to move into a reverse lunge and twist and some toe taps. With the lunge and twist and toe taps, again, I'm very big with my warm-up. I don't want to overkill it. I don't need Huey's warm-up to be 10 to 15 minutes where we're really going through 10, 12 different exercises. I just need him to be ready for the first exercise we're going to do, which is an isometric squat. So the lunge and twist, again, just further warming him up through his hips and his T-spine, getting him moving a little bit. His toe taps, just really loading him through his shoulder, increasing a bit of length through his hamstring and through his calves, and then we're ready to hit the ground running for his session. First thing we're going to look at with Huey is an isometric squat. So we're going to go single leg. We're going to get him on the force plate so that I can track his scores. Just come underneath and set yourself up as if you were just going to do like an isometric squat, okay? I just want to make sure that we're in the right position. And really this is going to look to do 2 things. One, it's going to act as a really nice primer and almost a really nice recruitment exercise before we start the session, just to get a lot of his high threshold motor units firing, just to get him firing a lot of his higher force muscle fibers, get his nervous system primed for the session. But also with maximal strength being something at the minute that we're really trying to chase with Huey, it also gives me a bit of a weekly measure or a bi-weekly measure in that I'm seeing him twice a week as to whether those strength levels are improving. All right, mate, we're going to go the same single leg squat that we did the other day, but first couple of sets we're going to do a warm-up. So we're just going to go 50% for 4 seconds each side, 80% for 4 seconds each side, okay? So if you now lift your left leg, stand nice and still for me, and then just give me a 50% push. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, time, swap sides. So if we get 4 weeks down the line, that isometric single squat hasn't improved, it gives me an opportunity to go away and look at the program, because that score should be improving if we are improving his maximum force production. So it just gives me an opportunity to look at how he's getting on and kind of measure his progress each week, but also just get him fired up for the session. So if you lift your left leg, I'm going to count you in 3, 2, 1, push. When I say push, just push as hard as you possibly can, okay? So lift that left leg for me, stand nice and still. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Come on, everything you've got, really push for me. Push, 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 push. Time. 1, let's go. Again, 4 seconds, everything you've got, really ramp it up, Huey. Push, 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 push. Time. Come on, last couple of seconds, try and snap that bar. Push, 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 push. Time. Good, out your step. After that, we're going to go into some pogo hops. All we're really looking at here is increasing what's called rate coding. So we want to look at really how quickly Huey can send a signal from his brain all the way down to his lower limbs to produce a lot of force and produce a lot of force very, very quickly. This time, I want them fast and high, okay? So set yourself up, big jump to start. As soon as your toes touch the plate, think about trying to get off it as fast as you can and get as high as you can, okay? So 10 hops, whenever you're ready, take it away for your first one. Let's go, fast and high. Also for Huey, we're using these because he does suffer from plantar fascia a little bit with the amount of running he does as a boxer. So not only does this give me a really good plyometric loading exercise, it also allows me to get him on the force plates again and just look at how he performs these weekly. If on one session we see a significant drop in his pogo hops, it's probably telling me there's something going on through that plantar fascia potentially, and then it can just warrant further investigation, or it might even mean that I pull something back in the session just to try and offload that plantar fascia a little bit so that he's able to box properly in his next session. After that, we're going to go into a broad jump. Really here, we're just looking at a little bit of lower body rate of force development, a little bit more horizontally. So I want toes behind the line. You're just going to set yourself up, hands free, so not on your hips. Give me a nice big dip down. When you get to the bottom of your dip, project yourself forward, land. First one, like I say, 50%. Second one, set your feet, again, big dip down, about 80%, and then the last one max, okay? And it's just gonna be a case for your warm up, I'm not worried about how far you get, but for your actual sets, we're just gonna measure how far you get, okay? With this, again, it's a nice little primer to build him into the session. We're not gonna do a huge volume of it today. You know, at the minute with Huey, because we're deep into a strength block, the goal is really just focused around that maximal strength work, and kind of everything else in the session is either a bit of a monitoring tool or kind of preparing him for that strength work to come. So this broad jump, a little bit of a primer. We're just gonna do 3 sets of 3 reps. I'm gonna give Huey a cone behind his heel just so we can measure his progress in each jump, in each set, just so he's got a little bit of internal motivation. He's trying to beat his previous scores of each set. So I know with each jump that I'm getting some maximal intent. Because we're doing such low volume with these jumps, his intent behind them is going to be really, really key. So I want to make sure that we're really trying to maximize that. After that, we're into Huey's key strength exercises for the session. So today we've got a hex bar deadlift and a bench press. Just one lower body exercise that Huey's done quite a bit before. You know, we can load it up really, really nice and heavy. And I, for one, know he can perform it well, so I know he can perform it safely. Right, mate, so for your warm-up set, all I want, give me 6 nice, easy reps. So tongue of your shoe in line with the middle of the bar. Nice tight grip, just big deep breath and sink your hips down, pull yourself tight into the bar. I'm just giving you a nice smooth stand as you come up, okay? But also, I know that we can load it up really nicely, and it's just really gonna look to try and improve some strength through his hips. Strength through the hips is a really, really important part of boxing because it's going to underpin a lot of his punching power. And when you start to throw a punch in boxing, that initial force generation comes from the hips and begins to travel up through the trunk to the shoulder to the hand, etc. So making sure he's really, really strong through the hips is going to be really important. Also for Huey, when he gets into camp, he does a lot of faster running, sometimes on the track, sometimes on a treadmill. So again, just making sure that his posterior chain, his lower back, his glutes, his hamstrings are able to underpin that running is going to be really important as well. So we're going to go 3 sets of 4 on the hex bar. This is the first week we've brought the hex bar in for a couple of months. So we're going to gradually just pyramid the weight up today. You know, he's boxing tomorrow, so I don't want him to be really, really sore. I want to make sure he's not overly sore and he's got enough energy for boxing. So today we're going to just try and figure out what's going to be the right weight for the next few weeks going forward. And one thing I want you to really focus on in future weeks is just your shoulder blade position. Like, I'm not too worried because you don't lose your lower back. Like, your lower back stays nice and straight, which is fine. But you just, when you come up on that first rep, start to lose your shoulder blades a little bit. You say like, my back's straight, but my shoulders just lose here. You just lose that a little bit. They'll always get to a point with deadlifts where you're lifting more weight than your shoulder blades can support anyway. But just really think, especially if when you're grabbing that bar, you're gonna pull yourself in and then draw those shoulders back. And then likewise with the bench press, we're gonna go 3 sets of 5, just looking to try and increase a little bit of upper body strength for Huey as well. Go thumb distance grip, wrap your thumbs around, feet nice and flat to the floor, lift up and out, give me 6 reps. And I just want the bar to hit your chest, more so that we just know you've gone through the same range of motion every single time, okay? So load that nice and heavy, plenty of rest in between, so that he's able to kind of re-perform these sets each time at a really high level of intent as well. And then over the next few weeks, we'll just start to gradually try and ramp those weights up a little bit. Up, up, up. Good, and rack it. So again, take your time setting yourself up, thumb distance grip, feet nice and flat to the floor, wrap your thumbs around, lift up and out, let's go. Bar hits your chest again, same range of motion. Good, drive it up. Very nice, Huey. Up, 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 up. Give me 2 more. Bar hits your chest. Right, last one now, big deep breath, same range of motion, bar hits your chest, come up. Good. And then finally, we're moving on to what I refer to as robustness circuits. So these are basically a few exercises that are just designed to try and increase the strength around key areas that are likely to get injured with Huey, either through his boxing training or through his running. So we've got a single leg calf raise on the machine so that we can load it up nice and heavy and we've got really high levels of stability. We've then got a glute ham sit-up, so looking at a bit of anterior core strength. Again, we'll load that up a little bit, stretch through your abs. And then almost like you're doing a crunch, think about really using your abs to pull yourself back up. Good. And we've got a prone swimmer. So just looking at really loading his posterior shoulder up through that end range of motion. So all of those key areas for boxing, you know, loading up his foot and ankle complex just so he can underpin a lot of the skipping and a lot of the bar bag work he does in the gym, but also a lot of his running. Also with him suffering from plantar fascia, this is going to be something that's just going to help improve that over time. We've got a glute ham sit-up, so a bit of loaded trunk flexion. You know, there's a lot of rotational work in boxing, but also along from that, there's a lot of core circuits and stuff that will go into the training. So just making sure he's got a nice strong core and giving him a bit of a stimulus through his trunk that he's not going to get from anywhere else in the week. So some heavy core flexion work, and then that prone swimmer really just about strengthening up through his posterior shoulder. You know, with boxers being quite rounded through the shoulders, it's not a huge injury risk, but we want to make sure that we are looking to really strengthen up that posterior shoulder as well, just to counteract a lot of that positions that he's going to spend his time in boxing. Again, really think about keeping those plates as far off the floor as you can. So really draw your shoulder blades back together, swim around your body. 2 more, don't let the plate touch the floor. I'm really using the prone swimmer because the floor gives you a bit of external feedback. It gives you a bit of a constraint that you need to try and really get into a deep contraction through that posterior shoulder as you start to load it up a little bit. So I know that we are really loading that end range of his shoulder. Then at the end of the session, we're just going to finish off with some neck curls. Especially with the amount of sparring work that boxers can do, we really want to make sure that they have a nice strong neck. That way, if they're just taking shots in the gym, that neck is able to contract and stabilize the head a little bit more, so that hopefully we can minimize the risk of any sort of concussions. You know, the jury's still out on whether that is actually going to be the case, but from my perspective, I just think if you've got a strong neck that's able to contract and really stabilize the head, then hopefully the risk of having that brain rattle around and causing any concussions might just be a little bit lower. And hopefully it'll be able to just make him a little more durable to some of the shots and some of the jabs he might face in sparring as well. So overall, really full rounded session with Huey. Big impact and big influence on maximal strength work. And then when we do get a date, hopefully in a few weeks' time, we can begin to progress that on a little bit to some more power and rate of force development work. Let me know down below in the comments if you found this video useful, and hopefully over the next few weeks I'll be putting out a lot more content, a lot more insight into some of the sessions that I'm doing with the fighters that I work with, as well as maybe a little bit behind the scenes footage as well. So let me know in the comments what you'd like to see going forward, and I'll see you soon.